we've still got a little ways to go. Give me a few minutes. You've probably figured out that little Bubba is extremely needy these days, and so I indulge him because I have to. I am his selected human. And as much as I'd like to have a really professional show where you don't have random walk-ins, things are the way they are, okay? And I'm not just going to boot him off the stage or strap him up somewhere and try to hide him. I'm trying to fatten him up a little bit. He's been very anxious for the last couple of weeks with this new arrival in the house. But anyway, how's everybody doing? I see Victor's here. So I got a few financial global tidbits for you. Tina, thank you very much. We already got your magic post-it notes set up, ready to go. Precious, you're going to have to give us an update on the surgery and the dates and whenever that is, how things are going for you. I'm sorry I couldn't do any readings last week. I was in a very poor condition. Basically, it wouldn't have been worthwhile doing anyway. I've been doing a lot of reports on my new Rumble. So, anybody's welcome to go visit over there. It's really just about the astrology from the global perspective, and I give myself full permission to rant about anything I want. And I'm free. I'm a free person. So right tonight it's going to be just, a couple of tarot readings, and that's about it. I'll glance over the astrology, and we could, I guess, if anyone's got personal issues with astrology, we can deal with that, but mostly that would be done in private. I'll do the public tarot readings here tonight. Just for reference, I know everybody knows me here, but who knows, there might be some random viewers at the moment. We'll see. Go on, Bubba. Go on. Well done. Good boy. I'll come and hang out with you in a little while. So, if anyone's just hanging out, never done this before, you can go to TarotLumination.com. You'll find the donate page, the donate button, and it's pretty straightforward. It's just like online shopping. Okay. So, this is the Astrodoodle for today. The things that stand out, it's a little bit scrappy because some of those really powerful conjunctions and oppositions that we've been having, they're starting to break up and fade away, so things look a little bit more random and spaced out. But if you squint and make your eyes really blurry, you'll notice that there's a sort of a collection of nasty T-squares right here. Again, it's all highly predictable. We saw this coming in, a week or two ago with the Sagittarius new moon approaching and so on. We've already lived through the Scorpio season, so the heavy-duty headlines regarding global finance have already happened, and now we're dealing with the trailing edge, so to speak, the spillover, which is just as bad, if not worse. So with this axis here, this is very much regarding the discombobulation, the disintegration, the full revelations about the deep state global propaganda machine that tries to keep the whole of the, I call them the elites, going in their crazy agendas to take over the world and turn it into one. I've got to find a nice word. There's so many words I can't use here anymore. But anyway, a bunch of really, really nasty people who wear suits and ties. They live in these fancy jets, zooming around the world, telling everybody else how to live your life. They go around spraying the planet with geoengineering, and they manipulate your money, your time, your energy, your currency, your dollars, your yuans, and everything like that. And they do it all through the media. In America, that's the ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, CNBC, and even the finance channels as well, and New York Times, New York Post, and Washington Post, and all of that. New York Times, LA Times. Anyway, so that's ongoing. It's not going to change anytime too soon. Hello from the land of Oz. Yay. I've been watching things from Australia, especially about some of the agriculture and the animal farming over there. You've got some serious advances on us over here in America, but still, Anyway, give me a second. For some reason, I've been very concerned about global food production. I don't know why. I think it's ever since Pluto moved into Aquarius. I can't see the astrological connections. But anyway, that's personal. And it keeps coming back to me. It's not just the algorithms that are feeding me what I'm curious about. I'm actually very concerned, okay? Yeah, the farmer's issue is going global. I think that's what it's stirring up inside of me. What I've noticed is that, both my genetic biological family is farming. In the background on my mom, background on my dad, my grandparents on each side, it's farming for generations. And then here we are in the 21st century, whatever it is it 21st? Yeah, 21st century, yeah, What? Hold on, wait a minute. I had some news. What's that? Sorry, let me catch up. Hold on, Tina. I'll come back to the food. I had some news. My friend that had been working on my fence and who was my contact person who would take my dogs off if something happened to me, he died suddenly on... Oh, my God. That sounds like something to do with that creepy stuff going on. A lot of people have been injured. There's the Died Suddenly documentary. I don't know if you've seen that. Love Triber has some people, friends, very close associations who a lot of them are very damaged and very sick. He was only 63. Oh, he's a puppy. Man. Hello, Robin. Good to see you. That's really sad. Oh, man, it's disturbing. You've probably seen a lot of the links and stories about health, global health and world issues regarding certain types of chemicals that are squirted into your body with a tiny syringe, and how it's all become exposed in the global mainstream media meltdown where the truth is being revealed. Here in America, there's RFK Jr., Kennedy fellow, who's going to rip it all to shreds, is going to expose the deep state and all their nefarious plans, how to mess with our health, mess with our food, mess with our brains, mess with our bodies, so that they can profit at our expense. In other words, we, the people, are being farmed. Okay? Please understand that. I think that's why I'm feeling the correlation. Hold on. I just figured it out. Okay. Some of you have been here with me for years, and I go on and on about how we're being farmed. Humans are being farmed. I'm not talking about farmed by aliens and that we're like a special, animal feeder planet and they take our energy and suck it up into the stars and they feed their alien babies. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about here on planet Earth. And the way I look at it, I wrote about it in my beautiful little book, which is still very relevant today if anyone's interested. There it is in its full glory. How the only way I could explain it is to simplify it in terms of factory farming. And it's been an issue for me for many years. And so I decided to write about it, translate it into the human farm, the factory farming of humans by the deep state. And lo and behold, it's very, very true. And so I put a few postings on my X and a few postings on my Rumble where I go into it a little bit further. And if you actually watch and study some of these very advanced industrial farming techniques for basically cows, pigs, chicken, buffalo, turkeys, ostrich, seafood, sardines, tuna, it's just mind-boggling, the industrial scale. And it never used to be that way. The Industrial Revolution changed, so that's about 140 years ago, basically halfway through the Pluto cycle for America, where inside America, America had reached a zenith in some ways, American wonder. There we had millions of small family farms, small towns all over the country, all looking after each other in a very Aquarian community type vibration where there's no particular leader. Everything was already established back in 1776. So we only need this much federal government, and otherwise we're left to take care of ourselves with high degrees of sovereignty, ownership of private property, land rights, and so on. Of course, in the last 120 years, but especially since 1913, that has been slowly but surely demolished to the point where we're almost like what Klaus Schwab is talking about. You will own nothing and you will be happy, okay? We're not quite there yet because, woohoo, in America, it turns out we have a very powerful immune system, even though there's enormous amounts of sickness in America. So many people are sick with diet and mental issues, drug issues, and it's being forced on them. Forced sickness and disease to fuel the medical industrial complex, the big pharma industrial complex, the hospital industrial complex, the healthcare industry industrial complex. All of that prospers off of your sickness. So they're thinking like, why should we just wait for you guys to be sick when we can actually make you sick and convince you that you just became sick even though we made you sick? Just follow the money. You just have to follow the money. Okay, let's have a look. Let me catch up with the notes. Hey, Campfire Family, hi. I wish. Okay. Yeah, Tina, Queen of Water. Yeah, I know the fugly fruit and veg, which is progressive. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. We need some good news. Yeah, I often talk about bad news. Yeah. So he was a dog rescuer, protector of the wild horses, and support person of the elderly. Oh my God! Talk about a caregiver. Talk about compassion. He provided firewood to the elderly. He was hounded by the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, in the government because of the wild mustangs. Oh, but he could not afford its insulin when needed. That's how we are conditioned, but we need to release that. Hello, Necessary. Thank you for hanging out. The gig is up. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of very, very, very dirty, nefarious stuff. Because, like, go back to that thing I was talking about 120 years ago, but specifically 1913, when everything became financialized and everything became about the money. It wasn't about freedom and prosperity and sovereignty of self and wealth for the individual. It turned into the Pluto and Capricorn energy where the corporate nature of America took over from the family nature of America. And that was the beginning of the end. And they've taken it too far, too extreme. And now they're facing the backlash. And so we're going to shred it. With the new administration coming in, we're going to shred the elite system. Partially, not completely. They won't be able to dismantle it completely. Corporations are here. They're not going away. Factory farms are not going away. But I've been having conversations with Love Triber and a few people about how humans are treated. And it's taking so long for humans to wake up and realize that you're being farmed. You're literally being farmed. It's no different from the analogy to the industrial farming of the cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, ostrich, seafood, buffaloes, emus, goats, all of it. It's all done on an industrial scale, okay? That's new. An ad popped up. Oh no, commercials. I can't control any of that. Give me a second. I've got a cup of tea here to celebrate because I'm really looking forward to good things. Even though I report a lot on really scary things, I like to stay optimistic because inside I think I'm a really happy person, a very lucky person, a very blessed person, very wealthy person, all in my own way, certainly on a global scale. Thank you, Necessary. Oh, so let me, for Victor, let me go to a couple of financial things over here. I've got some notes, actually, a few notes. So, Victor, as you know, the global stock markets have been gyrating violently because of what's happening across the world with the Ukraine war, the Russia war, and the Middle East, Israel-Iran war, okay? Okay. Oh, God, my hands are still really messed up. Some of my joints are really screwed up. So, I'm going to try and remember some of it. But as you know, with the accelerating and the expanding, increasing violence in the war over in over here, you know, Israel, Iran, all that, Middle East, Arabs versus the Jews, Islamic extremists versus the Jews, and so on. And then you have the Ukraine-Russia thing over here. You follow the money. It's a real stinking bloodbath of money, because over here, the real agenda is about oil and gas for Israel. So they have to obliterate Palestine and the Arabs over there. All the other Arab states are waiting for Israel to do the full destruction, because the Arab states are not going to do it themselves. Over here, Ukraine, Russia, it's accelerated, expanded to the point of, oh, it's World War III. There's going to be nukes any day now if Joe Biden has his way. But of course, Putin is a little bit smarter than that. He knows exactly what's happening. Biden is trying to sabotage the new Trump agenda over here by accelerating and triggering World War III on a global scale, on a nuclear scale over here. And Putin is like, no, I know what you're trying to do, Joe, but I'm not that stupid. Really? So Putin is just using a pile of really huge bombs that are extremely effective. They're not nukes, but they're still very, very deadly. And he's causing a lot of destruction over here. And so there are certain retaliations going on, but it's mostly in the form of sanctions. So I've already talked about there's the BRICS world, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That whole BRICS agenda, which is trying to escape from the American dollar, they've expanded, and then it all kind of fizzled out because they're all starting to realize it's much, much harder to escape the dollar than they expected. And since China wanted to impose the Chinese yuan as the new global currency through the BRICS, that was a complete disaster because the whole of the Chinese economy is imploding anyway. So nobody trusts the yuan. Nobody wants to touch the yuan unless you're maybe like North Korea or Iran or even Russia doesn't want to touch it. I mean, it's crazy. It's that bad. So what happened recently is that the Chinese yuan has been depreciating so badly, and they can't stop it. Xi Jinping issued orders, let's release trillions of yuan into the market to boost it. Of course, that's more self-sabotage, so the value of the yuan is crashing even further to the point where Xi Jinping declared we may have to actually do a formalized 50% devaluation. So talk about a major global financial implosion, okay? So that's going on over there, and that's because of simple sanctions as well. America is basically saying, okay, we're not going to necessarily fire any bullets right now, but the ugly marriage between China and America is starting to fall apart, and we're going to sever and do the final obliterations through a trade war using tariffs. And so China is one of the main targets of tariffs, and the other targets are Canada and Mexico. So over here, there's the beautiful United States. We're very fortunate to have the Pacific and the Atlantic here, Canada and Mexico here. But Canada and Mexico have turned out to be very unreliable partners and friends when it comes to geopolitics, because Trudeau and over here and Gloria Sheinbaum over here, they're not strong enough to take control of their country and do the right thing. So what's happening is you've got invaders coming to here, invaders coming to here, and then Trump is already meeting up. He's already had meetings with Sheinbaum and Trudeau, basically saying, if you don't get your frickin' act together, tighten up your borders, you're going to really suffer, because whether you like it or not, we're going to be dumping illegal migrants back into Canada and back into Mexico. And if you do not cooperate, guess what? You're going to get massive sanctions. Ha, ha, ha. And so it's causing havoc, chaos, and turmoil in the financial markets over here and over here. It's got so bad in Russia now that the ruble has collapsed about 30 to 40% in the last 3 months. So that's devastating for the Russian people. It makes it much easier for Vladimir Putin to export his natural gas. But the problem is, this whole section that relies on Russian natural gas is being cut off out of spite because of the war. So Russia is still stuck with a financial nightmare. So it's a financial nightmare over here. It's turning out here, and it's turning out here. Basically, Trump is already taking over office. He's not working out of Washington, D.C. He's actually running America from Florida right now. So there you go. Now, what's happening, of course, also, you might have noticed, Victor, is that the markets have been really gyrating. Massive upswings on the classics, you know, the index markets, the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ. But, of course, we kind of knew that already, all right? It follows the M2 money supply like clockwork. And the thing that really shocked people, of course, part of it was the Trump effect, was that Bitcoin shot up from about, 54,000 up to 100,000. Now it's down to, 93, 94,000. No big deal. If you're interested in Bitcoin, it's still very early days. Anyway, I like talking about those money things, but it's going to get me in trouble, so I'm going to move on. Yeah, if I do that, it'll just get me in trouble. I'd like to keep my little YouTube channel here for Sunday nights, if that's okay. Yeah, I got that. Yeah. All of them. That was for another show I was going to do today, but it never happened. Anyway, let's get back to you guys. All right. Oh, by the way, Victor. Let's have a look. Where's Victor? So, pretty much everybody here knows everybody. And Victor isn't just a money guy. Victor is actually a healer in his own rights. He's got multiple modalities. I think it's all different variations on energy healing of some kind. So you're in the right crowd, Victor. Thank you for being here. So I was going to mention that I've been tracking a few things from some of the money people that I like. The money people that I like, who are people who live by example, creating wealth from within, and then sharing their knowledge and wisdom to help other people generate and create their own wealth from within, if they have the right sort of let's say, vibrational connections with these teachers. So, you know, there's a lot of fake, nasty, global and local financial service providers and pundits and YouTube advisors, but you have to remember a lot of it is very, very scammy. Be extremely careful of Bitcoin. Any YouTube or social media channel that asks you to send funds over here and you can double it in a week, just walk away, obviously. But some of them are very, very subtle. I've been scammed several times, and I was stupid enough to believe the scams, and it was brutal, painful losses. But anyway, there's a couple folks that I like who are self-made people, and they both provide now similar gifts. There's a guy called Neil McCoy Ward, and he has all these wealth training programs, which are basically just common sense for people who aren't naturally attuned to wealth. And the other guy I really like is Mark Moss. He has become primarily what I consider to be a teacher more than anything. And his freedom is based on private enterprise that he's built up from the inside out that gives him huge amounts of free time. He owns a lot of his own time. In other words, he's not getting rich by sitting in front of a computer for 60 hours a week trying to do currency trading with dollars and francs. It's not that at all. He's got self-sustaining businesses that have managers and so on who answer to Mark. But Mark can enjoy himself, travel, do educational videos and things like that. And I've loaded some of them up and I read them, and they're very, very good. And I like him. Yeah. Master Steve Murray. Okay. Oh, okay. Huh. I should write that down, shouldn't I? Let me make a note here. I'm going to write that over here, Steve Murray. Okie dokie. Okay. All right, so I got, thank you, Victor. So, yeah, about the money stuff, the big compression event has already happened. We went through all the Scorpio season. We went into several months building up to the Scorpio season. It reached a crescendo, and at the crescendo was when we could sit back and watch the fireworks. Economies imploding, currencies imploding, tariffs exploding everywhere across the world, coinciding very... Maybe just, no, it's not accidental. It's divinely ordained with the planets, Pluto and Mars. All these wars create very, very combustible, highly unstable environments. Compound that with Uranus in Taurus, and then you oppose that with all the stuff in Scorpio. Bammo! Huge amounts of volatility that worked very, very favorably for some people. Actually, a lot of people. Especially if you're so-called in the markets. Okay. Hold on. That's when you got... Oh, no, that's going back, isn't it? Wow. So right now we're in Sagittarius season, and we have the new moon. Where is it? Oh, I haven't got the exact dates here. Maybe let me go to... I have a little calendar here with my ephemeris. Give me a second. And we'll nail it, because I want to know, because we're very, very close. The moon is already there. Today's the 30th. November 30th. And the new moon is, it's actually today. It was, well, it's not quite, but we're very, very close to the new moon. Okay? I guess it kind of depends where you are on the East Coast or the West Coast. So I'm calling it for tomorrow. From where my location over here, I'm looking at the new moon is actually tomorrow. Because I don't see that the moon is quite there yet, but it will. So that means the moon will conjoin with the sun in Sagittarius, opposing Jupiter in Gemini. So we're going to see new starts and new beginnings, and more levels of exposure about the corruption in the global mainstream media that wants to maintain absolute control over the storylines so that they can brainwash you into believing that the world works this way, when in fact it works this way. They don't want you to know that how things really work. They want you to believe in their belief system, because that's how they farm you. That's how they harvest your energy. That's how they slice off the bits and pieces and the body parts of your psyche and your soul, and then they suck it up into their... Oh, God, scary. I'm going to get in trouble again. Sorry. Shut up, TL. Shut up, TL. Mm-hmm. Let me catch up with the... I'm going to look at the chat. Give me a second. Tina, what are you doing? I'll pay it forward if anyone wants a reading. Okay, he's excellent. Okay, love child for Tina. Thank you. Okay. Today and tomorrow. Well, yeah, we could spread it out. I mean, you know, the orb of the influence of the moon is about, 8 or 10 hours each side of the new moon. So give yourself a little bit of freedom, okay? Bubba is, well, I don't want to disturb Bubba. He's nice, and he's in a little bit of a food coma right now, which is a very good sign. I'm trying to keep him eating as much as possible because he's been so anxious. He's lost quite a bit of weight, but he's going to be okay. He's going to be just fine. All right, how about this, Tina? How about this? Since Tina is willing to pay it forward, let's, just for fun, no offense to anybody who's here already, but maybe Precious. I know sometimes you're in a very, very tight spot. Maybe if you need a reading, Precious, if there's anyone out there watching tonight who's never been here before, never done this before, and you want to dive in the deep end and see what it's like, this is your opportunity. But you got to type it in on the chat on the screen and let us know who you are, where you are. I know it's very, very scary doing a tarot reading live in public in front of other people who are watching. Ooh, all that deep diving into the soul. Looking behind the veil. Accessing your invisible friends. Yeah. So I'm going to put that over here. All right, I think what we should do, how about this? All right, so let's just leave it open for now. Let's get on and get Tina up with her reading. All right, over here. Now, when I get into doing this, I kind of get lost into outer space, and I start to see things like I'm in a movie, and I just simply kind of translate it for your enjoyment. I nominate Victor. Hello, Victor doesn't want personal readings. As soon as the readings are over, he disappears and goes off and does something else. All right, let's have a look. How are we going to do this? I sacrifice Victor. Oh, boy. All right, let's have a look over here. All right, what did I miss out? Yeah, okay, well, we've got this very kind of sweet, nice, big fat green trine going on here. It's not exact because it's really like Sagittarius and Leo very happy together. And it's actually more on the North Node in Aries, but they're pointing to planets as though Neptune was actually in Aries. It's not. We're actually a few degrees off, but the degrees are so tight that it looks like a grand trine in the purest sense, but it's not really, because Neptune is here in Pisces, but Aries is here. Okay, can you see the slight difference? That's all it is. Thank you, Tina. I see your notes there. Okay. I volunteer. Okay. Yeah, so that's the global war dynamic that we're talking about. This has been going on for months. It's going to continue. It's going to drag on. Eventually, this red line will fade away once Mars gets into late Leo and early Virgo. But for the time being, war is raging across the world. And it's not just Ukraine, Russia, Jews versus the Islamic maniacs. It's all over Africa. There's lots of rebellion, lots of blood and guts and violence. It's horrific. It's weird how the astrology works and how we kind of get sucked into it. Just because there's this very vicious, powerful alignment that indicates war, it doesn't mean you actually have to do it. It's an acknowledgement and awareness of the war. And you don't actually have to declare war, fight war, participate war, or receive war. Over here, we talked about this one earlier. This is the big fat green harmony setup triangle here. It's going to be going on for many months. It's going to continue for many months, on and off, sort of wiggling around a bit. But we are already changing. Pluto is now in Aquarius. Okay, we got that's the 20-year journey. Next year, we're going to have Neptune and Saturn in Aries. That's going to go through here. And then we're going to have next year, we're going to have Uranus and Gemini over here. So everything's going to flip from Capricorn, Pisces, Taurus. It's going to turn into Aquarius, Aries, Gemini. So it's going to get very accelerated. The rumblings and shakings in the global financial infrastructure are going to change dramatically, and we're going to get an acceleration in the global financial system, probably with Ripple, XRP, ledgers all over the world, and new momentum with Bitcoin, eventually slowly turning into a form of currency and sovereign wealth and so on. But for now, it's time for Tina's reading. She's already paid for it. Okay, let's just sit and wait here for. Well, we don't have to. We can do a reading, and then we can assign. We can assign a person. So again, if there's, let me just check some numbers here. Give me a second. I need to check a couple of numbers. Okay. All right. So, any newbies out there who are curious about this fascinating world of live tarot readings, this is your amazing, rare opportunity to get one on the house. Okay? It's not on my house, it's on Tina. I could do a 3-card group reading. Whoa! Wow. Now that is inspiring. I'd never thought of that. It never would have occurred to me. That would be kind of like a Thanksgiving gift for everybody. All right, let's just do it. I like Tina's idea for the house. We'll do this for the house, okay? I've only ever done that a couple of times. That's for the campfire crowd. That's us, people. That's us, the viewers. Okay, let's put that over here. I hope you guys are all coping with Mercury retrograde. It just started. It's been building up for a few weeks. It's been very active over here with issues with cars, computers, my operating systems, my software, my broadcasting. Glitches with back and forth communications, friends and family. Very, very glitchy. Things crashing here. It took me about 10, 20 minutes longer than normal to get this show to broadcast because all the softwares were going berserk. I see you there, Victor. Yeah. All right, I'm going to put this aside. And let's pull this over here. All right, Tina, let's see what's going on. I'm sorry about the loss of your very valuable friend there, that person. It sounds like he was a very, very kind, loving person. If God, can you imagine if everyone on earth was like that? Wow. All right. Cards are well shuffled in advance. Do the group first. Okay. Wow. Even more innovations from Tina. Thank you. Let's do it that. All right. Here we go. All right. This is on the house. Everybody, you can thank Tina for this one. This is for everybody here tonight. So what kind of messages do the tarot gods, all of our invisible friends, like as a group, what's their message for us here tonight that we couldn't possibly discern on our own? And that's why we end up here. Just want to make sure that we're good. Yes, we're good. Okay, everything's good. This is just my good old-fashioned situation spread. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, nothing. Keep it very, very simple. I always explain it the same way. Just think of it as you've got an issue with your car. You don't know what it is, but I need to figure it out. So you have to reveal it to heal it. It's a core tenet of TarotLumination. And so you need a diagnosis. Okay, so you go to O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, and you say, please help, there's flashing lights all over my car. And then they send someone out with a big black box. Well, it's not a big, it's a black box like that, and they plug it in under your dashboard. And then they figure out, oh, no, you've got a problem. You've got a screwed up starter motor, messed up catalytic converters, the oxygen sensors have blown up and melted, the valve timers are out of sync. Oh no. So that's what we do here. And you've got to reveal it to heal. If you don't know what's wrong, then you can't fix it. And so you end up walking around wounded, suffering, and not knowing or understanding why. And of course, a lot of people live their lives that way because they're not constantly self-diagnosing, you know? Like I was talking a lot about the military earlier today. When you're in front lines, very, very active, let's say, combat, there are tremendous things that can go very, very wrong very quickly and very easily. So they have very powerful diagnostic tools and systems on a fighter jet that are constantly monitoring all the thousands of things that could go wrong inside your fighter jet while you're heading into, troubled conditions. And so if there's anything slightly wrong, they get alerts, and then you have a chance to fix it. In other words, they're already very sophisticated in knowing what does go wrong, and so they keep everything connected with sensors. So like if there's a problem with the left-hand motor, the engine, or the right-hand flap, or the radar sensors, you'll get an alert and you can fix it, okay? All right, here we go. All right, everybody. So gather round, get your marshmallows, put your big, thick, fluffy winter gloves on. Make sure you've got double layers of socks and snow boots. Make sure you've got nice snow-proof clothing. Imagine a nice, beautiful campfire made out of ancient, derelict, redundant, useless telephone poles and railway lines that have served and lived their life very well, and now they're living in a very blazing hot, enormous campfire. And it's cozy, toasty, warm, and everybody can see everybody and hear everybody. Just don't burn your marshmallows. Keep them back, away from the flames. Oh, also, if you want to do vegan hot dogs or meaty hot dogs, that doesn't matter. Your choice. All of it on a stick. All right, here we go. So what kind of messages do we have here? Oh, I don't do that. No, back. Get back. Get back. Bad little card. Bad card. Jumping out like that. How dare you? Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm trying to be very careful with my hands so I don't mess them up any further. Let's have a look. Okay. Disclaimer. Official notice. Tarot readings are for entertainment purposes only. If you have a serious problem, you need to go see a real doctor. All right, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges that we face. And here's how we're going to head forward. This is for all of us in our cozy little world. And let's have a look at the external influences. What we have here is the Seven of Wands. So I think this is kind of very closely related to Mercury retrograde right now, which would indicate that anything and everything that can go wrong with things that we need to sort out are very clearly exposed. In other words, it's very evident from here by looking around us that each one of us in our own way has a bit of homework to do on weeding the garden of our soul. How about that? How about for that for the language? Because it gets so tangled up so quickly, and you have to do a lot of maintenance. I mean, I've done little bits of farming, little bits of gardening in my life, landscaping, and rebuilding people's properties and trees and their plants and their fruits and vegetables. I've done all of that. But once you've done it, you can't just sit there, okay? Like, let's say you plant a little cherry tree. I remember planting a cherry tree in front of one house where I lived, and 25 years later, it was enormous. And it basically had to be taken down because it had started to break up the foundations of the house where the roots were going underneath and ripping up the pathway. It was a very beautiful tree, and we had a very beautiful ceremony to take it down. It had already lived a long, long life, so it was a very happy tree. But you got to do that all the time. Where the one particular place I'm thinking of, it was so luscious and so green that you really had to do gardening every day because everything would grow so much. The plants, weeds, fruits, vegetables, all of it. And so if you didn't do the pruning, if you didn't do the gardening and the caretaking, things could get really bad really, really quickly, and then you get an exponentially worse problem as time goes on. It isn't just a mathematical increase in difficulties later on. It gets worse exponentially, like this. So this is an indication. To me, it looks like an opportunity message, like, hey, everybody. Hey, everybody, it's time to remember this is a great opportunity for doing a cleanup. Yard work on your soul. Yard work on your soul. Do the deep dive. Don't be scared. Figure out what's wrong. Where are you lying to yourselves? Where are we cheating ourselves? Where are we living in denial? Where are we trying to avoid responsibility or truth or destiny or future or obligations? Where is all that? Because if we don't take care of that, all the value that exists that comes from living a life of responsibility, integrity, and good caretaking gets lost. Literally gets lost in the weeds. So don't be scared. I see it as good. It's just a reminder. Hey, everybody. Don't be scared of Mercury retrograde. Take advantage of Mercury retrograde. This is the time to do all the cleanup campaigns and all the stuff that's been building up that you don't want to normally do because it's tedious or boring, requires labor and going back over things you've already done. Okay. What's the situation for us? Let's have a look here. Wow. Okay, we've got the Justice card. So to me, this is an indication that it's very important that we need to understand on a grand scale that we are constantly sowing the seeds of our own destiny, for better or worse. So there's nothing like bad or good about it with the Justice card here. My feeling is that it's perfect. It's like the laws of nature, the laws of physics. If we choose to be derelict, if we choose to neglect our responsibilities, our duties, if we have gifts and talents and we are just throwing them away or abandoning them because it requires too much, let's say, dedication and selflessness and compassion to tap into our natural gifts and talents and resources, that's a form of dereliction of duty to the soul, which is kind of an insult to God, insult to heaven, an insult to your invisible friends, an insult to your friends and neighbors and environment, because you're just spiritually lazy, okay? And therefore you suffer the consequences. However, by living in accordance with really, let's say, advanced spiritual laws, which in some ways just comes down to common sense and physics. You call it spirituality, but it's really physics. If you're diligent and thoughtful and maintain a really good attitude of, let's say, community, like your responsibility to community and how you participate and contribute and how you enjoy the benefits of community, then you prosper accordingly and you will receive justice accordingly. Okay? And it all balances out beautifully. It's pure physics. Did I say 10? No, I didn't say 10. I don't think I said 10. This is the 7. 7 of Pentacles. Okay. So again, let's go back here a little bit more with 7 of Pentacles. Let's think about money. Okay. So let's get more specific. We've had a lot of issues about global finance, and you could take the same theme with that massive Taurus-Scorpio opposition recently. It might be a good idea to examine our own personal finances to make sure they are as efficient and cleaned up as possible. You don't want to live with a whole pile of abandoned or irresponsible financial behavior that has left you with kind of a train wreck of messy bookkeeping, not doing your own financial homework. That would be a good thing to clean up. If you don't, you will suffer. If you do, you will prosper. Okay. Okay. All right, let's have a look. Now, what are the challenges here for us? Okay. The way I feel it here with the 2 of Cups, it's about how do we conduct ourselves in a way that is very, very simple and pure, so we always literally just come from a position of love. Be loving, be loved. Really, really, really simple. Raw physics, pure nature. Be loving, be loved. Let's look at it another way. If you're spiteful, chances are you're going to receive spite. If you're vengeful, you're going to receive vengeance. If you are derelict and basically refuse to participate, you will be excommunicated because you don't provide anything to the community, the value to the community. And so the little bumper sticker that I'm always talking about, the little mantra, which is be loving, be loved, it's very easy for me to say it, but in the context of this reading, yeah, I could say, hey, everybody, don't forget, be loving, be loved. But what does that really, really mean? It means actually having to make conscious, deliberate, thoughtful decisions that often mean putting aside what would benefit you personally at the expense of others, as opposed to what would benefit you and others simultaneously. For example, on the chat there, Tina was talking about her friend who was very compassionate and caring, obviously provided a lot to the community. He was probably at his soul and his inside, he probably felt like he was living in a state of love, taking care of these animals, taking care of these older people, and so on and so on. It doesn't necessarily mean he was obscenely rich. He probably didn't have a lot of issues with tangling up his life because all he ever did was, act with compassion. He was loving. And he was probably very deeply loved by the people that he loved and the animals that he loved. But it's difficult to do because, for example, that fellow, he probably did not get a lot of rewards or huge grants and donations from federal government NGO agencies, or living on a huge salary from some entity which is telling him go around and rescue and save and help all these people and animals. No, he just did it out of love. It's difficult to do. I have this little video I watch it every now and again. Let me share something. Some of you know I had a couple of Jesus stories recently where I had these visitations, so I'm now officially connected. But like a while back, how can I put this? I gotta think about how to put this. So Yeah, what I did, I was wrestling with these concepts of this whole Jesus phenomenon, you know, and then I had my little visitation, and then I had another visitation, and it all kind of makes sense. It's a very, very beautiful thing. And then I found something on my X platform that came up, and it was this little, I think, 1.5 minute, maybe a little 2 minute video. It was narrated by the voice of Anthony Hopkins, so it sounded very serious and real. But it was a beautiful description about this character, this famous, world-famous character, Jesus. And I can't remember it all here. Maybe I should just play it one day on a screen or something. It's only a couple minutes. Where he's basically, Jesus was considered a teacher, even though he didn't have any degrees. He was considered to be a healer, even though he was never a doctor, and so on and so on. And he just gave of himself absolutely 100% completely out of love. And anything that did not resonate with love, he would point it out, like the nasty stuff going on in government at his time, and the nasty stuff with the money lenders and the crooks and the criminals, murderers and all that horrible stuff, non-believers and so on. He would point it out, but did he get any? I mean, he's famous now, millions of books written in his name and so on, but he probably died as a pauper. He was probably born as a pauper. He didn't have hardly any money, but he probably had enough to eat, probably had a place to sleep. But most of his life was sacrificial, kind of like the guy that Tina was talking about here tonight, the fellow in the neighborhood who was helping everybody. He probably didn't get a lot of reward, but he was probably deeply loved. I'm not telling everybody to go out and sacrifice your life and give everything away so that you can be like the animal rescue guy. All I'm suggesting is that keep that kind of feeling in mind when you have a situation that's really challenging. Don't harm yourself by forcing some kind of fake compassion or fake love. That's worse than anything. All I'm suggesting is that when a situation arises, it's appropriate to be loving, even though it might be inconvenient to you personally at that moment. Then act in love. That's all I'm saying, really. All right. So that's difficult for all of us. All right. A lot of us like to receive reward. We like to feel validated and appreciated for the energy that we put out and the deeds that we do. But a lot of it doesn't work that way. All right, let's have a look. How do we proceed going forward? Okay, this might sound weird, but with the Hermit here, what I'm sensing is we literally mind our own business. It's great to have a community like we have, but ultimately you are responsible for your own sovereign self and your own existence. And it's great to have relationship dynamics. It's great to encounter people who are loving. And if you are loving, that's great. So it works as a form of resonance. But ultimately, you have to become your own guide, as they say. And that sometimes has to be learned the hard way, by literally immersing yourself into society, into the world, with no, let's say, expectations based on greed or trying to get, have, especially if it's at the expense and loss of other people. With the Hermit here, my feeling is that, yeah, I mean, I do astrology readings, I do tarot readings, and a lot of people, when they get readings, they want to find out what's going on in their life and their world. And ultimately, it is purely their life and their world. Okay? Now, we have global events, like the whole of Bangladesh is suffering right now. And each person is trying to figure it out on their own. All those people up there in the Carolinas after Hurricane Helene, they were suffering as a group, but in the end, each individual has to figure out how are they going to figure things going forward. And it's a little bit scary. And when I look at the astrology and what's coming up soon, I think this is extremely important going forward with the Hermit here. What's going to happen starting next year, we're heading there already. Eventually, Neptune is going to cross into Aries over here, okay? Saturn is going to cross into Aries, and they're going to meet up right here at the tip of my pen. At the same time, the North Node is getting very, very close to the 0 point where the message is going to be extremely loud, the idea is it's time for you to take charge of your own life and be your own sovereign self. You can't let anyone live their life. You can't live your life for someone else. You can't let someone else live your life for you. You can't outsource your life to anybody. And a lot of people don't want to do that. It's so scary, the whole concept of becoming your own sovereign self and owning your identity for better or worse. In other words, owning the consequence of every decision that you make, every outcome that you make, even blaming all the conditioning that we have under which we have been raised. We still have the chance and the opportunity to clean up our lives and our world in such a way that we can have a higher degree of sovereign self, so that we can walk with pride, dignity as individuals, wholesome, loving individuals in a community that respects that energy, rather than giving it all away to some exterior third-party entity that wants to condition you for their benefit at your expense. It's no longer acceptable. So we're heading into that, and in some ways it's a very private, painful, lonely journey, attaining sovereignty of self. But no one else can do it. You can get help, you can get advice, you can get campfire feedback, crowd readings like this, but ultimately it's your journey on this life in this world, and it shows up in your chart, okay? Each individual has your own chart. So, I mean, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that's what this reading is telling me, is that we got to clean up our act as much as we can, accept the laws of physics. If we don't, we suffer. If we do, we prosper. As a moniker and a bumper sticker mantra to keep going, be loving, be loved. Do not try to reverse it instead of, where it's like, I'm not going to be loving unless I'm loved. It doesn't make any sense. Why should I put myself out there for somebody else, for some other people, or for something wholesome and good and useful unless I know it's going to work for me first? No, I'm not going to do that. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to be loving anyway. You have to take the initiative. You have to be the first mover. Be loving. Be loved. Plant the seeds of love. Sow the seeds of love, harvest the seeds of love, and so on, okay? But that's up to each individual. Scary as it might be, when Saturn and Neptune move into Aries, Chiron is still going to be in Aries, so it's going to be, for a lot of people, it's going to be very bumpy and very uncomfortable. So in some ways, this little reading is kind of a heads up for all of us here. Prepare. Okay? Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much. I hope everybody got something out of this mini reading for themselves in their own unique way for themselves. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a little break here while I shuffle up, so please bear with me. Thanks for your patience. Yeah, isn't it funny, all this stuff? I can't help it with all this animal stuff that's happening inside me right now. Some of you might have heard of this person. I was talking about this with Love Triber the other day. Her name is Temple Grandin. This is going back years now, but she was an amazing influence on improving the life of feed animals. You know, cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, buffalo, goats, veal. Not so much seafood, but definitely in the land animal kingdom. She had a tremendous influence, and she actually became a government representative for animal welfare in the feed industry. And there's a book, she wrote a book, even though she's severely autistic. She wrote a book because she had this mind-boggling connection with animals. She could communicate directly with animals, and she understood them as they went through their life cycle, from being born as little calves or little baby goats or little lambs, and then moving up through life, and then going back and forth in and out of the fields into the feed pens and the feed lots, and then eventually into the slaughterhouses through the trucks and so on. She understood it all their joys and their pains and their sufferings and their routines. And she wrote a book about it and laid out what it's really like to be an animal and how to improve the life of these animals, not just so that the animals are happy, but it's remarkable because when you get a really happy feed animal, you get much better quality food. It's really simple. Okay, so, yeah, and there is hello, Ivona, I didn't see you. Oh, yeah. Anyway, there is a book and there is a movie. Both of them are very moving. Okay, yeah, it's really quite something. It's quite something. So I'll just leave that there for anyone who's interested. I'll come back and put it up in a little bit, but it's been a very big concern for me lately. All right, Tina, you're up. Let's have a look here. What kind of messages do we have here for Tina tonight? Sounds like you were playing with Ava earlier, jumping around. All of us here know you've gone through some huge changes in your life over the last couple of years, and you're now in a completely new condition, new state. You've got a few years to go, I think, before you get to the next level of whatever it is, healthcare, I forgot, something like that. And in the meantime, you know, getting by, getting along, getting through. You've got the company of your animals. That's beautiful. Well, the story, yeah, well, it is the okay, well, just briefly. The story is that with Temple Grandin, the little bits that I remember is that when she was born, the people realized that she's a very strange person. And she did not fit in with society very well, but she had a profound connection with animals. And it just went on and on and on. And I don't know how she got drawn into the world of animals, but it was something to do with horses and healing, and how she could feel the need of a horse that is suffering, and how she could communicate that, and how she could also get people who are suffering to connect with horses in such a way that the horse would provide energy healing to the person. A really remarkable kind of situation. You'd have to get the book or read it or watch the movie, because I can hardly remember any of it, frankly. But it's a remarkable story, truly remarkable. And I think she had to have an assistant with her in order to help communicate with regular people, because mostly she was connected in spirit to the animals more than with people. But that was her gift, a really, really very rare and very profound gift. So it really, really helped millions and millions and millions of animals, especially in America and any place that has very advanced factory, industrial farming and harvesting of food cattle. Yeah. All right, so let's have a look. Tina. What's going on over there, Tina? I think it's called Temple Grandin. I'd have to do a search. Let me find out. Let me just do a quickie for you. I'm going to use my little tablet here. I'm just going to enter Temple Grandin and see what comes up. Movie. Okay. Here we go. Temple Grandin movie. There it is. Okay. It stars Claire Danes. I'll just show you the picture here. It's not a very good picture, but there it is. It stars Claire Danes as Temple Grandin, and the movie is called Temple Grandin. It's years old now, but it is a beautiful movie, a beautiful story, very moving, very uplifting. Okay? Oh, thank you, Ivona. All right, so we've got this down. We've got this ready to go. We've had a lot of shuffling, very clean deck. All right, here we go. All right, what kind of messages do we have for Tina here tonight? From the mystical realms of tarot. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things moving forward. Let's have a look at external influences. So you've got the Ace of Cups. That is just beautiful. Very, very simple. Very beautiful. It's a card of sacred opportunity. And it's basically like an indication that the way I see it, Tina, is if, like, without trying to get all high and mighty, if you see this as a kind of perpetual kaleidoscope of very, very beautiful energy, even when the planets are very, very hostile towards each other, very harmonious, it's never, ever ending. It's just a beautiful, perpetual kaleidoscope of energy. And it is always bountiful, so long as we find a way to tune into the bounty. Now, for example, if we're vulnerable, if we've had difficulties in our own charts, our own life, our own identity, where we're very, very, very vulnerable to things like a Pluto-Mars opposition, then it might be a very bumpy time, okay? Things like that. But again, it doesn't have to be. So with the Ace of Cups, my feeling is that you're getting a chance to glimpse a new life going forward, where there's a kind of a degree of serenity, where you look through a lens of life, where it is like a perpetual kaleidoscope. Even if you've got a really, really challenging, hard day, where you had major health issues on a certain day, communication issues or financial issues, family or relationships, or issues with the pets, or issues with the house, whatever it might be, weather issues, you got locked down because of a huge storm or a power, whatever it is, you always see it through the lens of beauty and love, like it's a spectacular, invisible kaleidoscope of love, okay? Just beautiful, okay? Yeah, maybe even peace, serenity. Just think of it as I don't know how to describe it. What I'm sensing mostly is a kaleidoscope, but you could interpret that however you want. It's just what I'm feeling for you is that it's that energy is there, and it's your time to enjoy it, to live at those frequencies where life is like being where it's always beautiful. Even when things are really horrible, it's still beautiful because it's constantly changing and moving. And when you realize that inside, nothing can destroy you. You're always like the old fellow you talked about. He probably had a very high level of happiness and contentment in his heart. He might have been very broke or tired or in pain at the end of a day, and he was hated by the government and so on. But he was probably full of love, absolutely gushing over with love. He just couldn't help himself because he chose to live that way. So it's your time now. It's your opportunity. No matter how bad things get in 3D, okay? Let's have a look. Certainly peace would be one version of what we're talking about. What's the situation? Okay, in the meantime, let's get back down to earth with the Four of Pentacles here. It's time to take stock for the long term. Looking at your physical material world, your health, your finances, your land, your real estate, your day-to-day activities, habits. I would even call it habits. Like, when do you get up in the morning? When do you have your meals, your snacks, any kind of naps, any kind of thing to do with creating stability in your life where that could enhance your peace, for example. For example, peace. A lot of peace can be derived by developing really good, solid routines and habits that kind of create a foundation for a better quality of life. Maybe not like getting extra rich, but creating more stability in the home, okay? It could be anything, like, oh, maybe I need to get a Keurig coffee machine now. I can afford that. Oh, or maybe it's time to do some insulation on one of the windows or something like that. Or maybe, maybe that issue out in the yard with the bit of fence, maybe it's time for that. Just little bits and pieces here and there, bits and pieces of in your three-dimensional physical world that always translate into peace and beauty and make you feel better afterwards. Like, I fixed that, I fixed that, I fixed that, and now I'm enjoying this and this and this. Like, I did so much good work today, I can actually sit back and hang out with TL, put my feet up, watch a video, get a reading, offer a kind, generous reading to the crowd. It's beautiful, okay? But it's deliberate. With the Four of Pentacles here, it's deliberate because what you're really doing is building peace and serenity and a solid foundation for life ahead. What are the challenges here? Let's have a look. Okay, well, continuing the process with the Knight of Pentacles, in order to continue it with this three-dimensional vigilance where you're constantly having to pay close attention to, the material foundations of your life, particularly like your health and your finances, for example, in your house. Doing that constantly, all day, every day, where it's like you have a checklist every single day. I got to do this. Oh, I got to check the mail every day. Oh, I got to check my emails every day. I got to check my finances every month. I got to check my refrigerator, make sure I got enough fruits and vegetables and proteins and all of that every single day. That means I have to personally extend myself and be my own hero every day. Because why? No one else is going to do it for me. If I don't do it, then all of this starts to crumble and disappear. And so it's basically like an indirect way of saying, be loving, be loved, but that's for yourself. In other words, it's time to really prioritize yourself right now, your health, your benevolence, your well-being, because that's the best thing you could do for the planet, is to be the best Tina you can possibly be. That's the new Aries vibe coming in. It's going to be really tough for some people, but it does require a lot of vigilance in terms of self-care. No apologies for doing perhaps lots of tiny little things that add up to significant health care. And rather than letting things pile up until it's a big healthcare emergency, it's time to create lots and lots of little sustainable practices that translate into stability, comfort, and peace long term. But that's hard to do, because normally you expend that energy and put it out there towards other people. It's almost like you give it away. You were a compassion junkie for years. You were a caregiver for many, many years, and you depleted yourself accordingly because not enough of this was redistributed to yourself, to your own stability and long-term foundation. All right, so how do we move forward? Let's have a look. Okay, with the Hierophant here, my feeling is that the way to move forward most effectively is create a pact with yourself. Create vows with yourself. Like, for example, I'm just going to rattle something like, I, Tina Miller, I now formally commit to my own health and well-being as my number one priority. Here are the list of things that are the number one priorities for me to take care of on a small, vigilant, day-to-day little basis, and that is my new regimen going forward. And then you stick to it. You make a pact. You make an agreement, a contract with yourself. This is how it's going to be going forward. I'm going to honor and respect this thing that I've neglected on myself for so long, and I'm going to prioritize this for me to be the best Tina Miller, create as much stability and comfort as I can for the long term, okay? Okay, oh, see, I'm just looking at the chat. You've lost all your habits. My routine kind of lost. Okay, well, this is a very good indication that it's time to, let's say, reformat, reconstruct, rehabilitate, redefine habits, patterns, and routines that are very beneficial and healthy for you without being burdensome. In other words, oh, God, I got to do this. Oh, shit, I got to do that. Damn it, I got to do that again. Oh, God, it's the dishes now. Oh, I got a clogged drain. Oh, shit. Whatever it is, it means approaching it with a very pragmatic, oh, if I just fix that, if I take care of that, everything will become stable again. So in other words, yeah, it's like creating a pact with yourself. I now vow to take care of myself priority. My number one priority is me, my health, my welfare, my well-being, my right to be my most awesome, sovereign self. And we're going to do it like this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Okay? Deal? That's a deal. It's like you making a deal with yourself. I think that's really, really good. And then this starts to work as a self-amplifying positive feedback loop. Okay? Yeah. So I hope that helps you, Tina. I've got Bubba here. Bubba is nudging. Bubba is nudging me. I've got to take care of Bubba. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here really quick, people. It's been a real pleasure to work with you tonight. Thank you, Tina, for your awesome generosity and doing the campfire reading for all of us. I really needed that myself, to be honest, because I'm part of the campfire, you know? It's been a real pleasure. Oh, you want a reading on health? Okay. Let me just check in with Bubba. I got to do some homework with Bubba here. Give me a second. Yeah, I can do that, Ivona, but that'll be the last reading of the evening, okay? No more readings after that, okay, Ivona? So I'll put you up with your own... You okay, Bubba? Okay, I've got to top up Bubba's bowl here. I'll be right back. So I'm going to... I got that one over here. Okay. That's it. Okay, that's last reading for tonight. Thank you, Ivona. So I'll be right back. I've got to shuffle up. I've got to take care of little Bubba. His little tummy is rumbling, which is a very good sign. Thank you very much. So please bear with me. I'm back. Probably the music just finished. Okie dokie. So, thanks for your patience, everybody. I got Bubba loaded up. Okay. Okay, give me a second here. I can see your notes there, Tina. Give me a second here. All right. So, see, okay. I have to feed the chickens and it'll send pay. Okay, all right, that's fine. It'd be great if you could, because I'm going to do the reading right now, Ivona. Are you going to feed the chickens now and then come back? How's that going to work? Anyway, Tina, what's happening is that another cat has moved into the house. It's like a sort of a foster situation, perhaps, for the time being. And it's a 4-year-old male kind of tabby type of cat called a Scottish fold, and it's a little awkward because little Bubba, even though he looks very beautiful and agile, he's actually 18 years old. He's a very senior cat, and he has seniority here in the house. And so it's a little bit difficult. He's having, in some ways he's dealing very, very well with the other cat, but it is another male cat. And like if it was a little tiny kitten or maybe a girl, it might be different. But this cat is big. This other cat is big and chubby, overweight, and it wants to be friends. But Bubba is like, it's like basically, excuse me, people, this is my house. I didn't invite you. Who are you? What are you doing here? I am the alpha, if you don't mind. I'm not interested in fighting or going to war, but it's made things a little bit awkward, and it's caused quite a bit of anxiety. The thing I noticed most with Bubba is anxiety, and he was before Tuffy arrived. I had got Bubba to start eating huge amounts of food, and it was doing really well. And now it's kind of dropped off again, a little back to where he used to be, because he's had a lot of stress recently. In the last year and a half or so, Bubba has lost Bonnie. She's gone. She died. And a couple months ago, Boo Boo died. And every day I see Bubba looking around trying to find Boo Boo. And then all of a sudden this new cat arrives. So there's a lot of dislocation and distress in Bubba land right now. But he's, in his own way, I think he's doing very, very well. But deep down there's kind of like a very low level anxiety, which is not going away. It's like chronic anxiety until he figures out, what's the long-term situation. So that's what's happening in Bubba land. Okay. Okay, you fed the chickens. All right, Ivona, here we go. All right, let's have a look. "13 bands of Mustangs? Wow, that's a lot of horses. All bachelors? Really? Is that how they behave? I didn't know that. I don't know that much about horses or Mustangs, to be honest. I grew up around horses for years, but I didn't really connect too well. I had a few very bad incidents with horses, and I kind of got a bit scared and shy of horses. And because they're very big. The horses that I encountered were big or very big because I was pretty young at the time. And I didn't mean any trouble or anything, but I just didn't click very well. I would not want to encounter, a herd of Mustangs out in the middle of nowhere. I think I would be absolutely petrified. How do they mate? How do they have little babies? Where's all the girls? What do they call the girls? Mustangettes or something? Fillies or something like that? Wild fillies or something? I guess the Mustangs, they all fight with each other or something to get the girls. Male issues. Yeah, that's what it is, Tina. Male issues. But who's the dominant male? Well, in this house, Tuffy is big, so physically he would be dominant, and he's much younger. He's only 4, so he's really like a teenager, older teenager. But Bubba is the senior resident here. All right. Just let me double check. Ivona, are you still here? I'm looking at the chat right now. Are you still here? Are you feeding the chickens? I see you did the PayPal thing. Thank you very much. That's great. Oh, as the males mature, they get kicked out of the herds, and they have to find their own mares. Oh my God, that must be hell. That must be hell. I cannot imagine it being out there just in the wild. All you've got is your 4 hooves and your nose, and you have to go eat food, constantly eating food. You got to find a few girlfriends, a few mares to create your own flock, or whatever it's called, herd. Sorry. They must get very cold in winter. I can't imagine how they cope. Because you get pretty brutal winters over there, don't you, Tina? High altitude, the snow and the ice and the wind. Ugh. My body is so flimsy. If it goes above 75, I'm boiling alive. If it goes below 75, I start to get chilly. All right, we're very well shuffled. Ivona, let's keep it simple, okay? Use the KISS rule. What kind of messages do we have here tonight for Ivona regarding health issues? Let's just leave it like that, okay? All right, let's have a look here. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things going forward. And let's have a look at external influences, at the environment, for example. Okay, so you've got the 3 of Wands here. So it makes me feel like right now with health issues, part of it is about planning for whatever is going to come ahead because of past issues regarding health. And also it's there's another thing about, like with the 3 of Wands, it's about the realization that certain degree of health is a consequence of our own behavior or our own misbehavior. Not in any kind of malicious way, but the reality is humans are very, very good at self-destructive behavior without even knowing. And they can, like for example, I've had certain end-of-life situations which miraculously turned around for me. So I'm very lucky to be here at all today. I'm heavily medicated to stay alive, so that's great. Somebody loves me. But if I look back and take the real look at it, some of the situations were created simply because I was not very good to myself. Early examples, smoking or drinking, overwork, being a workaholic, being a compassion junkie. All of those things can actually hurt you in the long run. So I don't know what your particular private, personal, self-destructive habits may be, but that has to be factored into the equation. There's always a certain degree of your personal health that is completely a result of self-destructive behaviors, even if you're not aware of it. So a lot of that happens with conditioning from childhood. For example, if you were raised in a certain way with certain behaviors, certain types of diet, or certain environments where you self-medicated, where you're self-medicated to cope with the stresses of life. A lot of kids, when they grow up at age 7, age 14, age 21, age 29, those are usually very, very stressful life periods for children and young adults, and it's all related to Saturn. In other words, if things don't go well, if you don't figure it out, things just get worse and worse. And by the time you get to your Saturn return, your life can be absolute hell, including your health. Okay, so it's not just raw destiny here. In other words, oh, I just became sick. Oh, I just spontaneously had this health issue. A lot of it is a consequence of unconscious behavior, unconscious self-destructive behavior. For example, I gave up smoking about 25 years ago, but I still suffer with lung problems. I gave up drinking alcohol about 4 years ago, and I'm really not suffering at all. In fact, I'm a much happier person now. So, things work out differently. I'm glad I don't smoke. I love tobacco, but I can't touch it. I love whiskey and wine and beer, but I just can't and won't touch it anymore because there are other things in life that are more important. Now, you've got your own version, Ivona, of the same story. You might have little indulgences or habits or health issues that are very, very hard to fix. Like maybe you like certain types of candy and you just can't resist and it's not good for you. Or maybe there's a genetic issue or something like a wound or some kind of damage that part of it is, I know that was my fault. That was me. I brought that on myself. Some of it might have been, like if you have a major car crash and someone else caused it and you end up with a permanent wound, then that's someone else's problem, but you still are the one that suffers. So it's like a double story here. It's like it's the law of consequences. Things are the way they are because life unfolded in that certain way. But going forward, you have enough awareness now, like, okay, well, how am I going to create my future going forward now that I have enough experience in life about how life actually works as opposed to how I was conditioned to believe it works? Because that all affects my health, your health. Let's have a look. What's the situation? Okay, well, so with the with the Seven of Cups here, this could indicate a very, some of that Neptunian, Piscean, very, 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 very hard to diagnose, invisible, very subtle, self-destructive energy. Let me just point it out. I don't want to go super negative on that because that would be easy to do, but on the global scale, we've been dealing with Neptune in Pisces for almost 13 or 14 years. We still have about another year to go, okay? We've been dealing with Saturn in Pisces. This, on the global scale, translates into a lot of the sickness that's been all over the planet. The very nasty bug number 19, and all the injections that were imposed on humanity. That campaign started about 4 years ago when Neptune was right here in the middle of maximum power. And this is the 12th house of self-destructive behavior. In other words, how humans are destroying ourselves. In other words, a bunch of elites are destroying humanity to profit off of the destruction of humanity, basically evil. And this is also the house of hidden enemies, the house of disease, the house of sickness. And it's also very, very hard to diagnose. And there are some sicknesses, like I had one condition, I was very close to death. The condition was called systemic candidiasis. Nobody could figure it out. Nobody could diagnose it. And eventually it was diagnosed more or less through luck because my girlfriend at the time was a pharmacist. And so we experimented. Anyway, so with the Seven of Cups, what I'm seeing here is whatever the health issue might be, there's a component of the health issue that's been very, very hard to diagnose and very, very hard to heal, no matter how much care and attention you might give to the situation. So that's a problem. Now there's another obvious one storyline here, but I'm not sure if it's relevant. I don't know if you're addicted to anything, drugs, alcohol, heavy medications, narcotics, or anything like that. Crack, whatever it is. That's obviously not going to work for you. You've always struck me as someone who's very earthy, solid, warm, caring, loving, grounded, and you wouldn't deliberately self-destruct in the way I just described. But so what I'm sensing, the Seven of Cups here, is much more to do with the generic issue of health issues, where some situations are just very hard to diagnose and heal. There's a lot of misdiagnosis. Love Triber was showing me situations, recently, where somebody might have a health condition, and then the traditional doctors come in and say, oh, well, you need that, and then you have to have this and this and this and this procedures, combine it all, and you're going to be great. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then you come along, let's say it's one of those horrible things like a cancer thing, and there's no hope. And then somebody comes along and tells you, all you have to do is like the ivermectin or the fenbenzidol, and you'll be fine. But it's so hard to diagnose. That's the problem. And if you can't diagnose it properly, it's very hard to cure it. Some conditions are that way. I eventually figured out what my conditions were, and they were diagnosed and they were healed. But it was a very, very long, painful journey. And if you're dealing with a similar situation where you know you have a health issue, but you cannot diagnose it exactly and perfectly, then that would make sense here. Okay? Don't give up. What are the challenges? Okay, the Hermit again. Just going back to the Aries energy of the sovereign self, where we're all heading. This is going to be a big issue for everybody on Earth, not just you, Ivona. But it's a scary reality that, like in some ways, Victor, I don't know if he's still here, but Victor would probably understand this. Like in the end, you kind of have to be your own healer. You have to be your own doctor, which is what I eventually had to do in terms of, getting to the point where, what the hell am I going to do? And I had to take a lot more responsibility for my health and my health care than I was used to, because I was always very vibrant in my health. I always assumed I was completely indestructible, and I could go without sleep. I could take coffee and alcohol, and I could smoke, and it didn't matter. But in fact, it did. And I did a lot of self-destructive things, and I had a lot of health conditions that were not diagnosed until much later in life, and it was to do with psychological and mental and physical abuse. And how on earth do you diagnose that and then heal it? Yeah, you can get therapy, you can get counseling, but ultimately you're the only one who can heal that. And it's sometimes a very lonely, painful journey. I've worked with quite a few people who have been, let's say, very close to death, suffering from some very horrible types of abuse situation. And it's very tragic, it's very sad, and they need help and they want help, and sometimes they get help. But in the end, they go through this if they choose to survive, let's put it that way, rather than becoming an abusive predator themselves, then they have to go through this self-healing process where they realize, my God, even with all the help and the medicines and the doctors and health care and everything, I'm actually the only person who can heal myself. And that's a bit scary. You can get all the help, just do whatever you got to do to get the help and the support you need, but ultimately your own healing is like your brain has to heal itself, your heart, your immune system, your vital organs, if there's bone damage, or if there's a wound or something like that. If there's a chronic disease or something. If it's non-curable, then you have to find ways to manage it. And that's just as difficult. Okay, how are we going to deal with this going forward? It might feel a bit lonely and scary, like, oh my God, who's going to help me? How can I deal with this? So going forward, with the Seven of Wands here, this is about what I would call the will to live. Activating the will to live, knowing that you've got this. Okay, Ivona, this reading is you wanted to know about health issues. You've got this. You can handle this. You can deal with it. However it comes at you, whatever different direction. Let's say, for example, you start getting whatever they call it, a second opinion. Let's say you formally diagnose yourself, I've got this issue. I have to take care of it. No one else is going to do that. I'm going to have to go see a doctor or get some help. So you go see a doctor and they tell you, oh, you've got this. And you think, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. So you get yourself a second opinion. And that doctor says, what? No, you've got this. And then you think, that's just bullshit. You're doctors, you should know this stuff. And then you go to another service provider and they say, oh, no. We've got this. This is a congenital thing. You've got to take this and that medication. You'll be on something for life. Oh, no. We have to amputate this. Oh, we have to remove that organ. We're going to put you on this. Whatever it is, my feeling is that all these wands here are different versions of second, third, fourth opinions about how to deal with your own health. Even if you're doing your own diagnoses and figuring things out, it's like a process of elimination. What's not working? In other words, that's another form of diagnosis where you figure out, like with allergies, well, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. So it must be whatever's left. It must be that. And so you go from that perspective. So it might be, going forward, the best way forward is to do a lot of self-care, do a lot of your own homework and research in advance before you commit to any formal health care with some kind of so-called accredited provider, especially if it's from traditional American healthcare. There's huge issues in American healthcare right now because it's coming out that the realization is that it's there to serve itself. And the most valuable thing to them is a very sick patient. So don't get sucked up into that vortex of confusion and betrayal where you are being treated as a very valuable patient because you've got a very complex, difficult health issue to challenge. And then they can load you up with procedures and medications and everything, and they do the fee-for-service billing, and they make themselves rich out of their healthcare insurance program, and you just get sicker and sicker and sicker. That scenario is not allowed. So my feeling here with the Seven of Wands is to do a bit of advanced homework. I'm sure you're very smart and more than capable to figure it out, and do a little bit of self-examination and a process of elimination to get closer and closer to figuring out what's the best way to proceed. Because ultimately, your life is all about you. You're going to have to be the master of your life, your world. Even if you have to outsource some of your health care, you're going to have to figure it out. All right? But you can do it. This is an indication that you can do it and you will succeed and you will prevail. Maybe it's not a cure, but maybe it's more to do with sustainable management. Okay? But that's all on you. You're creating your destiny going forward. It's your job, it's your duty, it's your responsibility to yourself. So I hope this helps you and kind of gets you squared away on the right path going forward. Thank you, Ivona. All right, that's it. I got to wrap things up here. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina, twice. Thanks, everybody, for giving me the chance to read to you. It's been a wonderful evening. And I'm going to literally wrap it up right here so you can all get on with your day. I'm going to go back and take care of little Bubba. Let's go over here. Thank you, I needed that. Okay, that's good. Oh, Tina, regarding coffee, I reached a point in my life where I'm dealing with certain types of doctors because of my age and my conditions. And I had some very quirky anomalies. I came back from the doctors, I think last week or so, and they said, you're doing incredibly well. Your blood work is outstanding. We don't understand it, but just whatever it is, keep doing what you're doing. You're on very serious long-term life-sustaining, medications, and it's very hard for the body to metabolize all that stuff, but you're doing great. So that's fantastic. And a lot of that I attribute to one of my doctors who basically looked at my stats and my numbers and my health and everything, looked at all my health records and said, you know what? You need to eat a lot more salt and you need to have 1 or 2 cups of coffee in the morning. And then there's all these other doctors saying, you've got to eliminate stimulants and caffeine. Cut down all that fat and salt. No. She said, it's upside down for you. She said, I wish I had more patients like you. Most of my patients are here with extreme high blood pressure, and they can't cope, and they're addicted to this or that. They're not willing to take responsibility. Oh, it's awful. But like within a matter of just within 3 months of going on the high salt caffeine diet, my numbers just got better and better and better. And I'm here alive to tell the tale. So, look at it this way, Ibona, anything can happen. You never know. Yeah, you got to look at the big picture. Yep. Okay, Ibona, I'm glad you got something out of it. So, it's been a pleasure to read for you folks. God willing, we'll be here again next Sunday. Thank you for your kindness, your patience, your generosity, and dealing with me and my Bubba situation. And we'll do this again. If you want to hang out with me during the week, I've started doing these nightly things over on TarotLumination at Rumble, but that's all to do with the deep dive astrology for the world and all the conspiracy theories and all the crazy stuff going on that I can't talk about here on YouTube. Take care, everybody. Be loving, be loved. It's easy for me to say, harder to do, but you all know that stuff already. Somebody has to stay around and put out the campfire, okay? And we'll save whatever wood is good for next time. I hope you had a feast with your marshmallows and hot dogs, okay? Good night, everybody. Take care.